Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a massive concept, the exact explosive moment America shifted into a global hegemon. Now, we all know we navigate a world where American influence is practically the water we swim in, right? From the global financial systems to international security alliances. But how did we actually get here? We're not talking about some vague general era of history, no. We are looking for a definitive origin story, a real starting line, the exact genesis of the global power structure that shapes the reality every single person on Earth navigates today. We're going to break down the specific history and the structural architecture of this monumental shift.
Let's kick this off by challenging our own assumptions about history for a second. Was this shift a slow burn? Or was it a singular, explosive event that changed literally everything overnight? You know, when we think about global empires rising, we usually picture a slow, gradual changing of the guard. We look back and see the Roman Empire taking centuries to dominate, or the British Empire spending generations building out its massive naval network. We just kind of assume there were decades of treaties, subtle economic shifts, and a slow passing of the baton. But the reality of American dominance challenges that comfortable assumption head-on. We really have to ask, when exactly did the shift happen? Instead of a gradual evolution, history points us toward a specific, definitive start time, a singular, sudden break in the timeline.
Moving into Section 1, Defining Global Hegemony and Understanding the World Stage. Before we look at that exact moment of creation, we've got to understand what was actually created. Hegemony isn't just about showing up, and it's not just about having a booming economy or a huge cultural footprint. It's an objective, structural reality where a single state holds supreme dominance. Think about what that actually looks like in practice. It means setting the rules of the game. It means your national currency is the reserve currency for the entire planet. It means maintaining military bases in dozens of sovereign nations and having the leverage to basically dictate international trade. Hegemony means the geopolitical board game is fundamentally tilted in your direction, and the rest of the world stage just kind of orbits your gravity. It's a massive level of influence. And America didn't just casually drift into it. Now, a genesis implies a distinct, traceable origin, right? It implies a hard before and after. Before this genesis, the world operated under a completely different set of physical and political laws. For centuries, the globe was multipolar. You had competing empires, Britain, France, Germany, Japan, the Soviet Union, constantly checking and balancing each other. But after the genesis, that multipolar reality was essentially erased, and unipolar American global hegemony was born. This shift operated almost like a geopolitical Big Bang, a distinct flashpoint where the old order was wiped out and a completely new one was instantaneously forged. Which brings us to Section 2, the genesis of power, tracing the origins. So we know the endgame is global hegemony, but what's the vehicle that actually gets a nation there? How does this genesis manifest in the real world? We've got to ask ourselves what actually creates a superpower. Is it just having the biggest population? Is it stockpiling the most wealth over a century of industrialization? Does a nation just gradually earn the title, or is it forged instantly under highly volatile conditions? Traditional powers relied on those slow, grinding metrics for sure. But making the leap to a true superpower is something far more raw and much more sudden. A superpower fundamentally alters global interactions, and the absolutely crucial concept here is projecting power. It's not just about having an impenetrable defense or being strong within your own borders. It's the undeniable, immediate capacity to reach out and enforce your will anywhere on the globe in a matter of hours. We're talking literal projection, deploying massive aircraft carrier strike groups across oceans, using crippling economic sanctions to isolate entire countries, and holding a nuclear deterrent that commands ultimate authority. To be a superpower means having a tangible, immediate reach that spans the whole world. Think of it this way. Hegemony is the atmosphere. It's the environment, the structural reality of the world where one nation is dominant. Superpower status, on the other hand, is the sheer kinetic engine that the nation uses to create and maintain that atmosphere. You literally need the kinetic engine of a superpower to generate the structural atmosphere of hegemony. They're totally linked. And as we're going to see, the historical transition into these two realities didn't take a century of diplomacy. It happened in an absolute flash. On to Section 3. The explosive turning point, the climax of global power. Think of the historical timeline here like a fuse being lit. First, we have the structural setup. World War II had absolutely devastated the major powers of Europe and Asia, leaving a massive power vacuum. The traditional empires were broke and broken. Then we move to the Genesis event, a newly industrialized America, which was relatively untouched by the physical destruction of the war, raced to secure the post-war order. But even with all that economic might, the transition from a powerful nation to the undisputed global hegemon funnels down into one singular, world-altering moment. All the complexities of global dominance actually trace back to one specific tick of the clock in the summer of 1945. The moment America became a superpower wasn't some treaty signed in a quiet boardroom. It was the successful harnessing and detonation of atomic energy. July 16, 1945, the Trinity test in the New Mexico desert, followed just weeks later by the deployment of the atomic bombs. That was the moment. We elevate from a general timeframe to a specific, undeniable turning point. Literally overnight, the United States possessed a weapon of absolute, unprecedented destruction that no one else had. The geopolitical leverage was instantaneous. The genesis of this era was not peaceful. It was a sudden, highly destructive, and explosive shift in reality. The blinding flash of the atomic bomb told the rest of the world that America possessed a raw, unmatched capability. It was violent, and it was instantaneous. That single blast literally shattered whatever multipolar structure existed the second before, leaving a completely new reality in the aftermath. The birth of American global hegemony was quite literally detonated into existence. Section 4. The new global reality and the aftermath of the moment. When an explosion of that magnitude happens, when a superpower is born in a literal flash, the dust eventually has to settle. And when it did in the late summer of 1945, the world was fundamentally altered. We're left with this stark, undeniable chain of events. The world went from a multipolar struggle in 1939 straight into a unipolar reality in 1945. America was left standing not just as the economic victor, but as the sole possessor of an apocalyptic power. This instantly established the country as a superpower and cemented the reality of American global hegemony. It's a really sobering, structural way to view the power dynamics that govern our globe today. We're all still living in the long shadow of that explosive genesis. Having uncovered the specific, devastating moment that birthed this dynamic, we've got to wonder, how long can a power structure born from such an explosive genesis truly last? If the foundation of global hegemony was laid by the sudden threat of absolute destruction, what does that mean for us today? Does a superpower forged in an instant require the constant threat of overwhelming force to maintain its grip? Or can an empire born from an explosion evolve into something else? It really forces us to look at the geopolitical landscape today and ask if the shockwaves from 1945 are finally starting to settle. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the origins of the world around you, and I'll see you next time.